Alright, Greeblies, welcome to today's video. So we are going to be making hedge foliage today, and we're going to be making it from scratch from these. That's right, we're going to be using sponges. Not this particular colour sponge, but something similar. Now, I've been wanting to do this for years, but I didn't have access to a food blender, and I did not want to be like snipping at it with the scissors until I get it as small as it has to be to have this hedge foliage. So luckily recently I was given a food blender by the Dino Lord's mum, and I was like, yes, it's go time. Because hedge foliage can be quite expensive when you buy it from the model shop, and I'd like to have some on hand all of the time. So without further ado, let's go make some hedge foliage. So first we're going to take this sponge, and you can see there's two different textures on it. So we've got like the fluffier, coarser side on the top, and then the more dense stuff on the bottom. So I'm just going to cut it into quarters first and remove the coarse stuff from the top. And now I've got a bit of a confession. I am a Haribo monster. So I cannot stop eating Haribo. I love it so much, and I have got a ton of these tubs that I've been keeping from it, and I knew there'd come a day where I'd need to use them. And today is the day. So I'm going to use them to cut these bits of sponge into. I'm just cutting them into really small pieces, and then just picking out certain ones that I think might still be a bit big and trimming them. There we go. And I thought I'd give it a go with the coarse stuff as well. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but we're going to give it a try. Right, so now I've got my blender, and this blender is like a two-piece blender. So you've got like the big bottom tub that you can put a lid on, and then, you know, you press go, and then the blades at the bottom spin around. So we're going to try that one first. That didn't look like it did anything, so I was a bit gutted at this point. I was like, oh, what? I was hoping that would work. And again, I don't want to be snipping at this with my scissors. But luckily, we have got an attachment with it. This is the second piece. So it's got like this metal bowl attachment on a stick, and that's got blades inside it. And then I've got this really tall jug. So I'm hoping this will do the job, because I was really disappointed that the other one didn't work. First, I'm going to grab a handful of sponge and put it into like the metal dome, and then pop that into the jug and see how we get on.
Let's have a look.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Okay, we've got a goer. So now I'm just going to put a load of foam in there and watch it magically transform. It is so satisfying watching it rise up, turning into fluff. So it is still not as fine as I'd like it to be. So I'm going to use a wooden stick and start pushing the bits that have come up to the top down around the sides of the metal dome thing. And then repeat the process. And I did that a few times until I was happy. Now we bring back the Haribo tub and we can pour this in. So I did the same thing with the coarser sponge as well. I'm also going to do the same with another sponge, which is a really kind of colourful sponge. But I thought maybe if I do this sponge with like, because I want to make a few different colours, yeah? So I figured if I do this sponge in like red and a brown, I'm hoping it might be okay. I'm not sure how it would work if I was to try a lighter colour on this sponge, but I had this in. I didn't want to go out and buy lighter sponges, so I figured, well, let's make some red and some brown turf with this. And it looks a bit like a smoothie, doesn't it? Which is probably what I should be using this for. I don't have any fruit, so it's not going to happen, is it? I mean, I've got a bit of fruit, but I feel like it's like baby food if you blend it. Do you know what I mean? Is it just me? Is it just me? Am I missing out by not drinking smoothies? Let me know in the comments. So now we've got all of our sponge ground down into really fine fluff. We're going to start painting. So we're going to start with a sap green acrylic paint, and I'm just going to pour a load of it into here, and then we start mixing. This is quite the process, quite the long process. But you know what? It is actually quite relaxing once you start. And then when you start seeing the results, you're like, yeah, this is worth it. Okay, now for the wild card, we're going to go crimson red on this garish pink sponge. And look at that, it turned out real vibrant. Bit of a lemon yellow one. And now a burnt umber on the pink sponge. So if you do this and you're stirring and you're like, it doesn't look like nothing's happening, seriously, just keep stirring, keep adding a bit more paint as you need it, because it's worth it for the results. Just takes a lot of stirring. Okay, now for the coarse stuff, I've decided to go with white acrylic. I think I'd like this to be like a snowy type foam. Snow or white waves. I figured I could use that for that, so we'll see how it turns out. But here they all are after having their colours. So what I'm going to do now is pour each of them out onto their own cardboard strip and spread them out on there and give them some time to dry. Now once they were dry, they look awesome, they do, but they're a bit bright and not very realistic, so they may work on certain dioramas, certain builds, but I want this to look realistic. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a bit of green, a bit of yellow, and a bit of the brown. I'm putting them all into a little pot and mixing them together, and just adding more as I think I need it. And now I'm going to bring out my box of magic. This isn't magic, by the way, this is tea bags. So what I've done is I've saved up a load of my old tea bags and I've like dried them out after I've used them. And then once they're proper dry, you tear open the bag, and I've been saving them all into this tub, and it's given me this amazing like ground texture. I know it looks like lumps at the moment, but you crumble it. You can crumble it like an OXO cube, even easier than an OXO cube. And it's kind of like one of those fine turfs that you get. So we're going to sprinkle a bit of this into our sponge bowl. And then we're going to add some colour. So I did start with mixing the colours together in my palette. So I mixed some yellow and some green. So it took a while doing this before I put it in the sponge. And then I put some burnt umber in as well. But I'll be honest, I kind of wish I'd have just squirted the paint into it directly. I think it would have worked just as well. I know it did because I tried it later on. Using more of the tea as needed. And then a bit more yellow. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. And then we carry on stirring. And I added a load of my homemade tea turf as well. You can probably buy brown turf, but I found it really easy to make this. I went through a phase of drinking a load of tea a few months ago, so this worked really well. And here's what it looks like once it's done. I'm aware it's a bit blurry, which I am sorry about, but you will see some decent results in a bit because I've decided to make a massive batch of it. So I've put it in a bigger bowl, in a I was going to call it a Harry Potter bowl, in a Haribo bowl. It's not even a bowl, is it? It's a tub. It's a tub in the Haribo tub. So again, adding yellows, adding greens, and then I added a yellow and green mixture. I'm not sure why I did that. I could have just put them in individually, but I did. So pretty much the same process as I did with the smaller tub. And look how cool it looks. Okay, I am also aware of what else this looks like. So I showed the Dino Lord it finished, and he said, you do know you're going to look like a dealer if you put that on your thumbnail. He says it looks like I'm trying to sell the devil's lettuce or something. So, a bit embarrassing. But when I looked on my packet of Javis Countryside Scenics turf that I bought years ago, it actually looks very similar, and that was what I was using as my guide for the colour that I wanted. It just didn't enter my head that it looked like that. But as turf goes, I'm pretty pleased with this. I don't have any new projects that I want to put this on yet, so again I'm going back to an old diorama. As if you've watched the channel for a while, you know I've got a few dioramas that we built a few years ago, and so I just add to them as I start learning new things. So yeah, I just decided to add some of this hedge foliage to this Dark Souls diorama that the Dino Lord did. So I'm just going to give it a spritz with some isopropyl alcohol, and then go over it with some watered down PVA glue to lock it in place. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you did, maybe leave a like on the video. Let me know if you're going to try this yourself or if you've got any tips for me, because I'm always looking for new ways of making things and new things to make, so I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and take care.
Get the bell on.